Hey folks, it's your buddy Mike Messier. This is One Pro Wrestling and Sports Fan YouTube channel. If you happen to be a Mike Messier fan and you're not a pro wrestling fan, well, I appreciate you just as well. And my other channels might be more to your liking. One Mike Messier is where my film reviews are. Recent films, Some Other Woman I just saw, Night Swim. I have all those reviews. Here we talk pro wrestling. And I have some questions and topics from a good subscriber of mine, Michael A.J. Norris, always keeping me abreast of the information. He's kind of a correspondent here, as it were. So Michael A.J. has some questions that we're going to get to in just a moment. If you have any topics or questions or opinions on the wild world of professional wrestling or maybe anything else, I'll make it an open rant line if you have anything. Right now, the East Coast is suffering or experiencing some type of tornado watch. I can hear it outside. There's rain, there's thunder. We might get shut down here at any time because of inclement weather. If that happens, well, that's what happened. But I'm safe and sound, and I'm fine. Hopefully, you're fine as well. And so maybe we'll get to these topics here. So the first one is really interesting. WWE apparently in negotiations, possibly to move for 2025. I guess the negotiations will take place or finalize in October of this year, 2024. But apparently their license or their agreement, their contract with the USA Network is up once again. USA Network has hosted Monday Night Raw for most of the last, oh God, 33 years. I mean, the show started, I think, in February or actually January of 1993. I think the first major angle on Raw was Kurt Hennig against Nature Boy Ric Flair in a loser leave town match. I think that was week number 2. I think the Steiners wrestled the Head Shrinkers on the second week of Raw. I think Undertaker beat Damien Demencio, et cetera, et cetera. I think Shawn Michaels was on the first Raw. But anyway, fast forward all these years. They did have, was it 2 or 3 seasons when they were on Spike TV? Or TNN at the time, and then they did come back to Raw. I want to say in 2007, after, like I said, 2 or 3 years over on TNN, which would become Spike. So here we are again on our own. WWE Raw, for the second time, it seems, might leave the USA Network, and I guess for a good reason, because apparently the USA Network has secured the rights to SmackDown. Um, so would they not want both shows? I mean, you would think that that would kind of be smart as well from USA Network's point of view. We have SmackDown and we have Raw. But I'll give credit to Eric Bischoff. He made an interesting point that sometimes for the product, it's in this case WWE Wrestling is better to be on more than one platform, more than one network, just in case anything happens to USA Network or in case who knows, the unforeseen, or just to spread your wings a little bit, maybe get some different audience members that maybe for whatever reason don't have USA Network. So here's the deal. According to SE Scoops, the front runner to secure Monday Night Raw for 2025 is none other than Amazon Prime. Now, is that's Jeff Bezos's company there? Amazon Prime, who you may or may not know, I actually do enjoy Amazon Prime shows. I do like their library. I do watch Thursday Night Football on most Thursday nights on Amazon Prime. I use Amazon quite a bit. Not to plug and shill, but I have my own books on that website. You know what I mean? So I'm a shiller for Amazon because I feel like, as far as these big monolith companies go, these are some of my books. Okay, that you should be purchasing. Bad Girls with Good Tattoos. Um, as far as I'm concerned, Amazon's done okay by me. I mean, they deliver very quickly where I live. They're very fast. Apparently, there's some type of super center or warehouse in this town that I'm in. So I really have no problem with Amazon. I know some people are, oh, they take out the mom and pop businesses and so on and so forth. And I get that perspective, but the times they are changed. They're not changing, they're changed, folks. So what can I tell you? So if Amazon Prime were to secure this Monday Night Raw, I would actually be for it. And I'll tell you a reason why. I do not currently have USA Network. I am not motivated by WWE programming to purchase a cable package right now in order to watch Monday Night Raw, or therefore, or the other guys, AEW Dynamite or AEW Collision. These shows I have watched in the past weekly. I do not feel that those would pretty much be the only appointment watching besides some other sports events. I'm a cord cutter. I'm just not convinced that these programs are essential to my happiness or to my well-being. You could say that the weekly wrestling shows don't mean as much to me. I go to plenty of AEW live events, or I have at least in the past. I've gone to plenty of NXT live events, WWE. I mean, I've seen enough good wrestling in my life that I don't feel I need to watch the modern day stuff religiously. Not because there's something wrong with it, just because it doesn't do much for me. So there you go. But if they were to be on Amazon Prime, which I have anyway, to answer your query, Michael A.J. Norris, I'd be good with that. I'd be more likely to tune in because it's something that I'm already paying for, Amazon Prime. And if it happened to have Monday Night Raw, hopefully just a 2 hour show, not a 3 hour show, I would make that simple request. I think the song and dance we've heard for the WWE for the last 10 or 12 years is, oh, they need to be a 3 hour show because of the contracts they've had. Well, if they were to go in 2025 to Amazon Prime, I can't speak on behalf of how that would affect international contracts for the other countries like Canada and the UK, where WWE Raw, I assume, is broadcasting either live or on the tape delay. I don't know how that affects that. But wouldn't it be great, everyone, if Raw got reduced to 2 hours, even 2.5? I just feel like that 3 hour should be reserved for something like, back in the day, the Crockett would have their Clash of the Champions at 2.5 hours, and that was a really good time length for that show. Pay-per-views used to be 3 hours across the board with all companies. I feel like 3 hours is something that should be dedicated for bigger shows. I feel with a weekly show at 3 hours, you just get so much fluff, meaning promos that are meaningless, repetitive promos, repetitive backstage situations. I do have a question here, or a comment and a question. Let's see, buddy. Do you listen to the Retro Wrestling Revival podcast? I think I have once or twice. I'm trying to remember if these are the people out of Philadelphia. If so, I've been a guest on their show, but I could be wrong. I could be thinking of some other folks. So I'm not sure if that's Wrestling Revival. It does sound like a fun show. There are a couple of Southern guys that are usually talking about like Mid South or Southeast wrestling, like the Fuller family and stuff like that. I'm not sure. I'm getting my wrestling podcast mixed up in my head. Maybe I'll take a look at the computer and see if I can find this show, and maybe I have listened to it. And have you been on with them? I see they are members of the Foreign Object page. Like I said, if they are the fine folks, there's a many wrestling podcasts that I have been on. Facebook user your did not come up. There's some really good people out of. There's Jimmy the Ref out of Texas. His name is. It's not Jeff the Ref. He was my podcast buddy that passed away. I will be on a. So here it is. It looks like Retro Wrestling Podcast Wrestling. Retro Wrestling Revival Podcast is based out of New York City. I'm going to the Facebook page. I do have liked their page. It looks like a nice Facebook page. They have an email here. Let me take a look at their fine faces. They have 1.5 thousand likes. They have 2.9 K followers, thousand, so 2,900 followers. They look like nice gentlemen. One guy is kind of sporting the long hair, and the other guy has short hair. And I'm trying to pick up their names here. Look like nice gentlemen. John and Chris. I probably have talked to these guys, but I can't put my finger on it, to be honest with you. I mean, the gentleman on the left with the long hair is very familiar to me. I'm trying to think of, I could be blanking out. Anybody, I could be having a sophomore moment, not a senior moment, but a sophomore moment. They do have a bunch of AI generated stuff of Steve Austin as the president, which is kind of funny. I'm looking through their Facebook pictures. They have The Rock as the president. They have, interestingly enough, Starcade 91 Battle Bowl, which I attended live as a child, so I wouldn't mind speaking to these gentlemen because I probably lived through some of the stuff they're reviving. I'm not sure how old they are. They might be a little bit older or younger than me. They have a Brian Pillman, Homer Simpson, Brian Pillman meme, which is funny. They have a bunch of Ryback stuff. So these guys look like fun guys. they have a picture of Stephanie McMahon from high school. Oh, she's cute back then. So good for her. Yeah, these guys look like pretty cool guys. I mean, I can't say, I think I would have remembered now had I been on their show. So I don't think I've been on their show now that I really get into it, because I think I would have remembered these dudes because they look like pretty cool guys. So I'm happy to be on their show, or they could come talk to me, and either me and myself, or just me and Jimmy Faluca, who guest hosts here sometimes. Jimmy and I will be doing a very special sports-oriented podcast in the week next week or two. Not wrestling, but other sports. Do you think a one-off? Do you think with WWE building out their roster and the move to Amazon Prime, do you think a third show may be in the works? Well, don't we already have a third show if you count NXT? I mean, so that would be three already. So now I think we're looking at four. And I mean, not to put Bischoff over and over again, but he did make a point about saturating the market. How much tolerance does WWE fans? How much wrestling do they need? How much WWE wrestling do they need? Let's put it that way. I don't know the answer to that. I think that in years past, wasn't there 205 Live, within the last 10 years? They even did like touring shows. I remember 205 Live was scheduled to come to North Kingston, Rhode Island, at the University of Rhode Island arena, which is about 8,000 seats, and they actually canceled at least one show because of low ticket sales. So they had 205 Live. What was that on? Was that on WWE Network, or was that on one of these channels? They had something called the Main Event. That was in the last 5 or 10 years. I don't know if that's still floating around. Back in the day, I'm sure you remember, or maybe you don't, but the Attitude Era, they had Monday Night Raw. I think in '99 is when they added SmackDown, and then they had like Sunday Night Heat. What was the late night show? Shotgun Saturday Night. They still had some shows on the USA Network. They might have even had into the '90s some syndicated shows. So the answer is sure. They could definitely add a third show. I think the question is, could they? They should. I mean, they could. But if they did, here's what I would suggest. Not that they ever listen to me, although I've applied to their company and not been hired, but I would suggest just having a different format. Instead of just a bunch of matches in the ring and guys in suits calling the matches, you have all this talent. You have all these wrestlers. Some of them are quite entertaining. I mean, especially the Chase University people. I mean, you could do a whole bunch of different things. That NXT group, you could do a whole bunch of different things with wrestlers that don't necessarily have to be in a wrestling ring, but promote the matches still. I think that's how I would take it if I was running the ship of fools that is WWE, or the ship of millionaires, but I'm not, so they won't listen to me. Mikey, R-Truth is gold with Judgment Day. He's been funny in the past. He's now getting over. Why now and not back then? In the Vince era, as they were buddies. Yeah, that's interesting. First off, Michael A.J. Norris did have a good point about this, and we'll get to your next question about Houseman in a minute, Facebook user. Um, Vince McMahon and R-Truth have been reported to be good buddies. And I guess that's one reason why R-Truth has been gainfully employed for about 20 years with WWE. I don't know if his character has been the best use of his talents. I think he's done the very best that anybody could expect him to do, put in that Santino Marella type of comedy role. I feel like R-Truth, or Ron Killings, if you look at his stuff from TNA, the early days of Total Nonstop Action Wrestling, when he was a heel, he was an angry heel. I mean, the guy was really pretty damn good on the microphone, pretty raw. I mean, I think he also made a little cameo. I want to say, was it The Wrestler or Beyond the Mat, or both? So, I mean, he's a very charismatic guy. I personally feel that, like the Big Show, R-Truth is one of those wasted personalities, and Dolph Ziggler, who just left the WWE. So I feel like there's certain guys that the fans like, and the WWE apparently likes them too, to an extent, because apparently Dolph Ziggler was one of the highest paid wrestlers for years with the WWE. R-Truth, I'm not sure how much money he's making. I know that he's past 50 years old. He looks great. Um, but I mean, during the pandemic, he was used a lot, I think, for comedy. I'm kind of remembering that. And AJ's point is, why is he getting over now? I guess it's just a thing where if you stick around long enough, they figure out something good for you to do. And I just watched it in preparation for this podcast. Our Truth, he says he was born a baby in Charlotte, North Carolina. And the first thing he said to the doctor when he was born is, "I'm going to be in the Judgment Day someday," which was funny. And then they like inserted a bunch of our Truth images into different Judgment Day highlights, like Rhea Ripley winning the women's title or Damian Priest winning the Money in the Bank ladder match, and they just basically cut and paste our Truth into those scenes. It's good stuff. It's funny stuff. I mean, I think if you stick around long enough, you become a nostalgia act. And I hate to say it, but I think beyond age 50, our Truth is a nostalgia act for wrestling. They're not counting on him to go in there and have big matches. Although you would assume that they're basically playing, he's the Sammy Callahan of, or Sami Zayn, I should say. Sammy Callahan, I got no use for him. Our Truth is the Sami Zayn of the Judgment Day. If no one else has said it, I've said it. They could really drag this thing out. They could really have fun with it. They could really do a bunch of stuff where he's trying to fit in, or even he takes over for a week or two. I mean, they could really do a lot of cool stuff. The question, I don't really have a great answer for you, Michael AJ Norris. I just think that the WWE, I mean, they did turn our Truth heel, if you remember that. They have like a Capital Carnage pay per view or some type of pay per view out of DC where it was John Cena versus our Truth. I don't think I've ever watched that match. Maybe I'll go back and watch it. A few weeks ago, I watched John Cena defend the title against Mark Henry for the first time. I think I saw the end of that match. I started to watch it in a Panera Bread of all places. But yeah, I don't know the answer, buddy. I mean, I think it's just a weird deal where Vince McMahon is said to be really good friends with our Truth. He was also said to be very friendly. Who's the guy from the Primetime Players? Ezekiel, the tall guy, bald guy, who was the host of WrestleMania with Hogan a few years ago. I never understood that deal either. I mean, they didn't use him very well as a wrestler. The guy that tripped at the Royal Rumble, like the greatest Royal Rumble where he slid and went underneath the ring. They haven't used him particularly well either, but they seem to like him. So I don't have a good answer except they're WWE and they do whatever they want. What's your take on the Houseman Twitter spat with Chris Jericho about the NDA stuff? Good question, loaded question. You think it's fake news? Okay, hold on. Obviously, there's some type of heat issue. I did watch. I never sat there and watched Houseman before, so I guess you can say if he's doing this for publicity, Houseman, it worked because I went over and I watched the majority of the show, and it was him and another guy talking wrestling, and I mean, it's fine. I mean, they weren't dumb guys; they were pretty smart guys. Houseman seemed a little bit. I don't know how much pull he actually has in the pro wrestling world or how much he thinks he has. But I wasn't terribly impressed or terribly not impressed. He was just another guy talking wrestling. He was very, how do you say this? Alluding as if he knew all these backstage stories of impropriety or bad actions by Jericho, but he didn't want to say what they were himself, not even saying the situations. Houseman just wanted to say something to the effect of, well, I wonder if some of the people who've been mistreated by Jericho will ever come out and speak up about it. So he's basically putting the responsibility of speaking out on other people, yet Houseman said just enough to trigger people. And then you couple that with Jericho was just coming off some spat with, I thought this guy was not a real person, but Stephen P. New, which is Jim Cornette's shoot lawyer. I thought Stephen P. New was a joke. I mean, when the Cornette and Brian Last do the World Class Championship Wrestling theme and they sing Stephen P. New, Stephen P. New, I typically fast forward 2 or 3 minutes because I don't want to hear the World Class Championship Wrestling song bastardized in such a fashion. And I don't necessarily need a lawyer right now, so I don't need to hear that stupid song. With the It's stupid because they put Stephen New's name in it. Anyway, Jericho got himself into a bit of a thing now, didn't he? And at the pay-per-view, fans, Jericho was teaming up with Sting in New York, and the fans are chanting NDA, and they're giving him a hard time, and they're booing Jericho. And I guess I heard that Jericho changed his theme music. So is that a response to that? Like, hey, if you're going to boo me, I'm going to change my theme music so you can't sing along with Judas in My Mind anymore. What's my take, buddy? I do, crazy me, I still believe in innocent until proven guilty. If there hasn't been, and as far as I know, there hasn't been charges pressed against Chris Jericho. Uh, I mean, I'm not discounting what this young lady said, Kyrie, if I'm saying her name right, but if she's not pressing charges, what can we do? You know, and furthermore, the jumping to assume someone's guilty, well, didn't that happen in the Emmett Till case? I believe it did. So, I mean, in the Emmett Till case, which is much more drastic than this stuff, I would say, the poor kid was beaten to death, quite literally, because he was accused of flirting or complimenting a woman, a white woman. But the point is, mob mentality jumped on this poor kid, killed him, and then, of course, the famous photograph of him in his casket that his mother insisted the photographers take to teach people the lesson of their own racism. How does that work with Jericho? Well, it's basically the assumption of guilt until proven innocent. And our country and perhaps the world has accepted that. And it's not right. It really is not. And I said something in one of my movie reviews last night um, about thinking about people that have been held in prison incorrectly. And I said, why don't we prosecute prosecutors who purposely put people in jail knowing they're innocent? Not when a lawyer or a prosecutor or a law enforcement person is doing their job thinking that the person is guilty, but after listening to the Amanda Knox book, you know, and seeing how they did things to her in Italy, I'm sure we're doing that to people in the United States. If a prosecutor actually knows someone is innocent and withholds information or continues with the case to try and put an innocent person in prison just to keep their numbers up, why isn't that person held accountable? I think they should be. And, you know, I'm sure that the lawyers and such would have, you know, kick back to that. They wouldn't want to hear that. But why aren't they held? Why isn't that a crime? Why isn't sending someone to prison who's innocent? That should be just the biggest crime as anything else. Now, getting to the court of public opinion, Houseman, like I said, if he has no real evidence and he's just shrugging his shoulders and saying, "Oh, I wish that these, assuming that they are women, would speak out against Jericho," but I'm not going to say anything of value. I'm just going to hint and tease. Well, that doesn't work for me either. It's not that I owe anything to Jericho or he owes anything to me. I've never met Jericho, but I would just say I don't think it's fair that a guy, meaning Jericho, is having his reputation besmirched. But on the other hand, would I necessarily doubt it that he did something out of line? I wouldn't doubt it. But that's just because of the business that he's in. He's in the wrestling business. So I'm not defending Jericho. I'm not going to lose sleep over this one way or the other. I just think it's a dangerous thing, and we're already there. It's not that we're getting there. We're already there. It's guilty until proven innocent. And but then, like I said, you have things like the Emmett Till case, and everybody feels ashamed about that and thinking the people from the 1950s were so backwards and such idiots. Well, we're backwards and we're idiots because we prosecute people in the court of a public opinion before they have a chance to defend themselves, and they shouldn't even have to defend themselves unless there's evidence that they did something wrong. So anyway, folks, hashtag whatever the fuck. Michael A.J. Norris, AEW, Adam Copeland versus Christian in AEW is not as good as it was in WWE. And just Edge wanted to face his best friends before he's done. The story in AEW is okay. Well, I might disagree with that, buddy. And look, here's the thing. I'm not watching Dynamite week to week. I'm not watching I'm not watching the transition of Luchasaurus to Killswitch. I catch up on things with the big events, the pay-per-views in AEW's case, the premium live event with WWE's case. That's how I watch my wrestling. And if NXT comes to town, I'll go see it live. I just don't. I'm telling you guys, and you can do what you want, but if you become like me where you have that discernment and you only watch the really important things, and if something is so big and fabulous that happened on one of these weekly shows, they put it on YouTube in 5 minutes anyway. So for me, the beginning of this feud with Edge coming out after Christian beat Darby Allin, I thought that was well executed. And I think that their match on this past pay-per-view, two matches, Edge beats Christian for the TNT title, and then Kill Switch comes out with the contract, and Christian demands that he give him the contract, and then Christian beats Edge. That is excellent 50-50 booking. So as far as there's a goddamn alarm going off. Jesus H. So as far as that type of thing goes, I thought it was very entertaining, their pay-per-view. You got two matches for the price of one. It was 50-50 booking. We kind of ended where we started with Christian with the TNT title and Edge chasing him for it. But Edge can say he beat Christian. Christian can say he beat Edge. Christian, as the baby face, wins the tough, hard hitting match. And that's Edge, or whatever his name is, Adam Copeland. Okay. I would give him a different name, by the way. I would have just called him. Here's my idea for Adam Copeland. Call him Cope. I would go see a guy named Cope. Like, isn't that kind of a cool name for Adam Copeland? Just Cope. Oddly enough, the mask guy, Executioner number 6 or Excalibur, was calling him Cope on one of his first matches, I think against Killswitch. So I think I would just call him Cope. I don't think Adam Copeland sounds too exciting. I don't know if you hear that thunder, but there's actual thunder here now. It's very exciting. So I think the feud is fine, buddy. But like I said, I'm not watching every single show like you are. Mikey, TNA. Okay, here we go, folks. I want to get into this topic, and then I'm going to talk about TNA wrestling now because I got an email today offering me a pretty good deal, and maybe you guys can weigh in on whether or not I should do this. But not that I need your guidance, but just your opinions. TNA has a pay-per-view Saturday. I may get it if I wasn't an Impact fan. Interested to see the product will change because TNA was great. Glad the name came back. Well, a Rose by any other name, a wrestling federation by any other name, whether it's TNA or Impact, I don't think they're going back to some of the stuff we remember of the 2002, 2003, 2006, 7. TNA, I don't think they're going back to the six-sided ring. Apparently the wrestlers themselves don't like it. What else? I don't think Jeff Jarrett's coming in anytime soon. He's with AEW. I don't think Dixie's coming back. So it's kind of like if they're changing the name back, what exactly is retro about it? I mean, I guess the answer is always wait and find out or watch and see. Some of their other talents, I don't know if they're thinking about maybe bringing Tessa Blanchard back in. It seemed like she had the best work of her life in TNA Impact Wrestling around 2019, 2020. It kind of came to a screeching halt when she won the title and then the pandemic and all that. And the assertions against her, Tessa Blanchard. So, talk about someone that's been dubbed guilty in the court of public opinion. Cancellation on Tessa. So I don't know, buddy. I mean, but here's the thing. I got this email offering me $30 off an annual subscription, and I'm really thinking about doing this. I'll see if you guys are thinking about getting the pay-per-view on Saturday. I don't know if that's part of this annual subscription offer, but basically I think it's like $99 a year to get a subscription to their catalog. It's a TNA Plus app subscription. Once again, free plug for these people. But I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, I think it was kind of cool that they're offering $30 off a World Champion annual subscription, which let me go back to it just so I can give you guys the proper information. Okay, so that's $219 a year. Okay, so full content library, digital first content, exclusive live specials, and live pay-per-view events. Okay, so here is the rub. I was looking at the special attraction annual, which is $95.99. So that this $30 discount doesn't even apply to that. This World Champion annual is basically $190. Gets you all the pay-per-view events and their full content library. Now, that's interesting. Still a pretty good deal. it does make a bit of a difference for me because if it was 69.95, I was definitely going to do it. Um, but for this $190, that's a little bit different. Um, so I don't know what to tell you. I mean, um, if you were thinking about getting TNA in 2025, if you were thinking of taking that splurge, probably go to their website, sign up for their email list, and you'll probably get the same email that I got, giving you $30 off. It's not a bad deal if you're a pro wrestling fan. If you're going to watch these shows or thinking about it, it's a really good deal. I don't know if I want to do it now because I mean, I kind of sold myself on $69 and now it's like 190. Then I have to watch all this shit. You know what I mean? Well, AEW banished Jimmy Havoc for similar things. Seems like a double standard. If you're talking about the Tessa Blanchard stuff, yeah, I wouldn't doubt it, buddy. There is a double standard. Drew McIntyre is a good talent. I don't think he wants to be a heel in WWE, and he will be in AEW. No, he's staying. Nobody jokes about leaving and coming back. I know jab at Punk, and I think he'll be good for the company. Um, you don't think he wants to be a heel in WWE? Yeah, it's interesting because it seems like I watched that promo between Punk and McIntyre, and it's a little vague. Like, is Drew McIntyre a begrudging heel? Like, is he the heel that doesn't really want to be a heel? Like, is that the character, or is that just Drew not pulling this off very well? Because it does seem like he's a bit of a tweener, meaning he's in between. And maybe it's just a thing where they need Drew to wrestle guys like Seth Rollins and CM Punk just to have good matches to balance out the main event scene. But yet they don't really want Drew to be a full-on dirty bastard heel either. So maybe that's what they're thinking. I don't know. It does seem a little vague, though, to be honest with you. So I don't blame you. Facebook user, I can't see your name there, Facebook user. You've been with me the whole time. I think it's the same guy. But if you do want to announce yourself, please do. Please do. TNA is just dangling their carrot in front of Tony Khan to buy them out for a ridiculous overpriced sum like he did with ROH. Interesting. Now, are you saying that the TNA is playing the WWE off of Tony Khan, like playing WWE to get Tony Khan's money? I know that about, was it 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, when Christian Cage was wrestling Kenny Omega? Didn't Kenny Omega have the TNA World Title as well? He had like 8 belts at once, and Christian Cage beat Omega for the TNA title or the Impact title at the time. And that was like the second or the first episode of the Friday night show. Getting all these shows mixed up. So I don't know. I mean, it is like a little bit of a pissing contest. Like you have Tony and whoever you want to put as your figurehead for WWE now. If it's not Vince, is it Triple H? Is it Nick Khan? But basically, Tony Khan and WWE having a pissing contest. Which kid has the most action figures in the neighborhood? I don't know. I mean, this is the thing, guys. I mean, this is why a lot of times I kind of dip into the yesteryear of wrestling and things like going to see the Iron Claw movie. Seen it twice already. Most likely, there's going to be a very special video on One Pro Wrestling and Sports Fan about the Iron Claw. I can't really say more than that. Hopefully, it'll happen. Hopefully, it won't get canceled before it does. I'm assuming it's going to happen. I'm looking forward to it. So anything. So anyway, gentlemen, if you have more comments or queries, I think we covered basically Michael AJ Norris had 3 topics and we've covered them. They were R-Truth. Why is he getting over so much now? The other question was about TNA and there's pay-per-view Saturday. Like I said, if you get their email thing, you'll probably get that $30 code. Saves you $30 off the year membership. I think that's the way to go. I had that for $50 with the NWA for a year. That was nice. Mercedes Moné, the former Sasha Banks, AEW or WWE. I don't care much if she goes to WWE because Trinity, Naomi, returning with Hunter in charge, they will be back in a tag team. Yeah, man, they could, but to be honest with you, were they really setting the world on fire as WWE Women's Tag Team Champions? I mean, I hate to say it, but it does seem like that's kind of a maligned thing. I mean, I saw last night Chelsea Green was Twitter, whatever trending, and people were talking about her wanting her to be like the Shawn Michaels of her team with Piper, and then some people got excited about Chelsea Green probably because she's attractive, and So I mean, I don't know. I mean, would it really be a payoff to have Mercedes Monet, Sasha Banks, and Trinity come back after 2 years gone and have a match with Chelsea Green and Piper Niven? I suppose. I mean, I suppose it could be a thing, but I don't know if I mean, I think when you think Sasha Banks, I mean, I was for whatever reason I was actually thinking about this. Don't you think Sasha Banks was kind of left out of that first ever women's main event at WrestleMania when you had Charlotte and Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey? I mean, don't you feel like there could have been a spot in there somewhere for Sasha Banks? And I guess you'd either have to make it a four-woman match or it would have to be, take one of those other ladies out. But I do feel like, and Sasha got the match with Bianca Belair a few years later at WrestleMania. But if WWE hires Chelsea thinking Zack Ryder will be back, where is he? Yeah, good question. I mean, I think Zack Ryder would love to be back under the WWE hood, the umbrella. But I think Zack Ryder thinks of himself basically at the level of Cody Rhodes or somewhere in that realm. I think Zack Ryder, and I have nothing against Zack Ryder or his partner Brian Myers, Ryder and Hawkins. But I do feel like Zack probably thinks of himself as a main event guy. He did main event a pay per view in 2023 against Tyrus for the TNA title. I was there for that in Tampa. Zack Ryder's an interesting guy, but I mean, I think like Cody Rhodes, he values himself very highly, as well as he should. I don't think there's ever been a value of Zack Ryder in the WWE world that matches what he thinks of himself. We saw that the last time, and I don't know if because Zack Ryder, I think he had a grand total of one match in AEW during the pandemic era. Didn't he team with Cody or somebody like that? Um, my point is, I don't think Zack Ryder is valued like Cody, and furthermore, if Zack Ryder were to have come back to WWE, it would probably be in pretty much the same spot that Cody's in, like the prodigal son returns. But Cody's already done it, and we've seen what's happened to Cody. Cody has been crucified. He's taken the sins of independent wrestling onto his shoulders, and he's been crucified and publicly humiliated and embarrassed. Well, here's a good question. I do like this question. You think Beer Money will reform in the new TNA? I think that would be good. I mean, I think at least for a retirement tour or a retirement program. I don't know if I believe the Motor City Machine Guns still work together, and I think they had a best of seven. God, 12 years ago, didn't they? Beer Money versus Motor City Machine Guns best of seven. One of those guys, not Shelly, but the other one has some type of title now, I believe, right in TNA. So I would like to see that. I think that's a good idea. Beer Money reuniting for another little farewell tour, like, and if they could kind of like when Leonard Skinner tours now, it's always this is our last concert. Like I went to one of their several last concerts. Leonard Skinner at Mohegan Sun, in 2019. It was supposed to be their last concert, and then they played the next week. So I think Beer Money could have fun with that. They could have T-shirts that are like the last drink or last call or whatever. Mikey, why isn't James Storm in WWE? I thought he would be back one day. He was good in a short time in NXT. Well, I think James Storm spoke about that himself, and he said, from what I remember in an interview, that he didn't think he was getting as much money as he could if he went back to TNA, and it was strictly a financial situation. And I gotta say, Michael AJ, I don't think the WWE takes it too kindly when a wrestler passes on their system, which is basically you're in the AAA league, you're in the minor league of NXT, and then we work your way up. And I think the WWE holds grudges, and I don't think that James Storm built up, as far as I know, why would he have built up enough goodwill where they'd even want him again? Because they could just say, okay, if we bring this James Storm guy in, who's probably 45 years old now, he's no spring chicken, right? So I don't think that he has much of a future with WWE because if he were, I think at the time that he was there was that 2016, 2017. I think James Storm, I wouldn't say he blew it, but that was his shot. If he was going to stick around for a year in NXT and then go pushed up to the main roster, he might have met the same fate that that his partner there did, Bobby Roode, because Bobby Roode did very well in NXT, and then he got brought up to the main roster, and he was a journeyman. He was a mid card act. He was the best that Bobby Roode did. I think he had like some thing with Ziggler and who Corbin. Like, didn't they have a little unit for a couple of months? Mikey, I think WWE should get Riddle back. Uh, CM Punk versus Riddle has money on it. Oof, I don't like this. Matt as a heel and a serious wrestler. I guess I'm just going to have to agree to disagree with you, buddy. I'm not a big Matt Riddle fan. I'm not a big fan of guys who have certain advantages in life and seem to not appreciate them. And I feel that Matt Riddle, from all accounts, is one of those guys. I think this is a guy that, had some good things, good people in his life, good relationship, and he blew that. And he had a good job with WWE wrestling, and he blew that. So, you know, and it might be just a giggle and a grin. Oh, he's the happy-go-lucky stoner. But to me, it's I don't see the benefit of it. I mean, I don't see the benefit of promoting a guy like Matt Riddle, who seems to be a real pain in the ass in real life, and I don't think he's terribly entertaining either. I mean, I think he's a poor man's RVD, and RVD was a tribute to Spicoli in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I never really liked Riddle. I think the Team RK Bro was his best stuff as far as comedy. I don't like Riddle's wrestling style. I don't like his look. Uh, don't think he has got great promo skills. I think at times he can be humorous, but it's very limited. It's very one dimensional. It's just stoner humor. It's just, oh, I'm high, dude. It's just stupid. So I mean, I think that if they did something with him, if he had to like get a haircut, like lose his hair in a haircut match, and maybe change his whole personality and his wrestling style, then I might like him because he wouldn't be the same guy. And go straight. Get that marijuana out of your lungs. Mikey, next time you have Jimmy with him, ask him what he thinks of WWE giving him a legend deal. Who gets the legend deal, buddy? My buddy Jimmy Faluca, the co-host. I don't think he's up for a WWE legend deal. But who's the him? Yeah, pronouns, pal. Who's the him here? I'm trying to think of next time you have Jimmy Bray Wyatt. Okay, thanks, pal. Thanks for clarifying. Yeah, I think I will do that. I will save that for Jimmy. I guess I mean, I think to their credit, WWE is trying to take care of Bray Wyatt's family. I believe he had two young children with JoJo, the ring announcer. I think I could be wrong, but were they set to get married when he passed away, or were they already married? I think they were engaged, and then he had two previous children with another relationship. I guess with his ex-wife. If I have that straight, I think it's kind. I mean, I think it's similar basically to when Dana Warrior got a job with the WWE creative writing team, and no offense to her, but me, you, and everybody else are more qualified than her as wrestling fans. But I think that the WWE at times has a human side. Um, not to bring up bad history, but I mean, maybe they learned something from the way that they mistreated Martha Hart back in '99 when her husband passed away in their ring. Not to say that, obviously Bray Wyatt passed away, I believe, in his car, or was he in his home? And his heart refibrillator was in the car when it should have been with him. So it's a sad situation, but I think it's nice of them to help his family because he did contribute a lot. He really did. I like watching old WWE stuff. Oh yeah, Kevin Nash and Punk segment was good stuff. That was from the summer of Punk, like the second or third summer of Punk, the 2011 WWE summer of Punk. Yeah, and what's great about things like the WWE Peacock, the former WWE network now on Peacock in the USA. I think it's still a network internationally, and the TNA app. If you have some wrestling memory that pops in your head, it's really nice to have this streaming service. And back in the day, guys, you'd have to, buy a thousand DVDs of wrestling and dig through them to find a match. And before that, you had to buy VHS tapes, which was a whole other monstrosity. Well, gentlemen, this has been fun. It sounds like the thunder has eased up a bit, so I'm kind of happy about that. I can't hear it anymore, so it sounds like maybe it's left the building, the thunder that is. So like I said, that's nice. And I hope you guys have a good week, a good weekend. And I said that to somebody last night. It's Monday night. I go into a gas station. I was having a bit of a time of it. I couldn't find my wallet for about 10 minutes. I'm in the gas station digging around my car. Then I'm thinking, do I have to go back to where I was and look for my wallet? And long story short, I found the wallet and I was so flustered and frustrated. I went inside the gas station to buy myself Gatorade. I haven't had a Gatorade in maybe 10 months, but I went to the soda machine, got a lemon lime old school Gatorade with ice to replenish myself from all the fucking anxieties. And I got this Gatorade, like this 32-ounce Gatorade in a foam cup. And the young woman working there, she sees me and she says, "Is that all you got, hun?" And I said, "Yep." And she said, "Oh, you're good," which means go ahead and steal it. Take it. So I did. So I took the Gatorade and I didn't buy any gas there, and I threw stuff out in their trash can, and I did all types of things. So to the hardworking people at the racetrack gas station last night who allowed me to have a free Gatorade, compliments of the house, I do appreciate it. I did get frustrated before that because I discovered that the back of my car, the license plate light, the tag light is out, and I had literally been to get that fixed on December 22nd, and I had my car oil and filter, and I told them specifically on the phone and in person, and I had it written down that I have the tag light and the back light are out, and I need to be fixed. And they said they'd fix it, and apparently they didn't fucking fix it. So that got me so angry and aggravated, and kind of zen, like my own Matt Riddle. The people at the fucking racetrack gas station gave me a free Gatorade, so my anger was subsided. All right, gentlemen, I hope you have a great week. I'm going to tap out. And do me a favor, if you enjoy these videos, ask more questions in the comments. Copy and paste the URL. Oh, gee whiz, I do have this question here. Mikey, were you an ECW fan? What were your favorite moments? Well, buddy, I guess you'd have to dig around this channel, but I think I talk about the fact that I was at Barely Legal. I was at the first ever ECW pay-per-view. That was the first and only time I went to the ECW arena. Great time to go, right? Their only pay-per-view out of there, and I was there. I saw the dark matches. Louis Spicoli and JT Smith, the original FBI guy, were in the dark matches. I saw the whole show. I saw Heyman do an in-ring promo. But they had a house show on Valentine's Day, 1997. I was very tiny, but I remember that it was like a 3.5 hour show, maybe 4 hours long. They had, I believe, Brian Lee versus Tommy Dreamer. A couple of guys wrestled twice. I think Tommy Dreamer wrestled Tommy Rich. They had Raven and the Sandman. This match was on ECW TV. Raven and the Sandman fought into the balcony, and Sandman somehow got a BWO shirt, the Blue World Order shirt, and it was actually the first night of the Japanese guys. My buddy Sheldon Goldberg from New England Championship Wrestling and other promotions, he actually was the broker to get the Michinoku Pro guys, Taka Michinoku, and was it the Great Sasuke, and was it Terry Boy, and there was 6 guys. One of them was replaced for the pay-per-view, but the 6 guys wrestled. Gran Hamada, I think, was one of them. They wrestled a 6-man tag match. So if you're asking me my favorite, and I think on that same show, I could be mistaken, but I happened to be wearing a blue shirt, and I happened to be in the lobby when the BWO, Stevie Richards and the Blue Meanie were about to go to the ring. And their music started, and I'm wearing a blue shirt, and I just kind of like jumped in front of them and walked back to my seat. And I did that purposely to give the false impression that I had somehow joined the Blue World Order for the night. And so my friends got a kick out of it. 911, what happened to him from ECW? I mean, I don't want to put the guy in the grave before I think his name was Al. I don't know if he's still alive or not. Apparently he's still alive. He was born on January 22nd. It says 1957. So if you want to send him a birthday card, he's got a birthday coming up. He was trained by Larry Sharp. I think he was there. I want to say, was he there for the Barely Legal pay-per-view? Did he make an appearance, or Big Dick Dudley or somebody? Um, he made appearance. I actually saw him live at a Rhode Island show. He showed up at the Wickenden Street Fair. There was like 20 fans in the audience for this like 2-day outdoor series of wrestling shows by the New England Wrestling Alliance, and they brought in Captain Lou Albano and 911. He appeared at Hardcore Homecoming in 2005. He appeared at the 2020 GTS Regal Rumble to eliminate Tito the Clown. Uh, so very interesting. He was Rookie of the Year 1994 for Pro Wrestling Illustrated. He was the NWA World Light Heavyweight Champion. That seemed to have been a rib. Let's see. Otis as Jobber. That's sad. He seemed like a great guy. Yeah, you talk about WWE's Otis. That made no sense to me either. When he and Mandy Rose were doing the romance stuff, it seemed like it was really working during the pandemic. And of course, when something works, they stop doing it. So another frustrating thing, I believe he won the Money in the Bank ladder match in pandemic times, I guess in 2020. And he was going to cash it in for a tag match, and then his tag partner turned on him, and then they turned Otis heel as well. So it really seemed like another guy they dropped the boat on. Well, gentlemen, thanks for checking in. MikeMessier.com. As always, you can go to Amazon. Our buddy there, Jeff Bezos, not only is he promoting Mike Messier books, but now he's promoting WWE Raw potentially. But Bad Girls with Good Tattoos is this one. This is my wonderful film book. Fighter Play Basketball is probably the I don't want to say the best book I've written, but probably the best one I've written. So that's it, folks. Hope you have a wonderful day, night. Enjoy the tornado or the thunderstorm or the rainstorm or whatever it is. Thanks for tuning in, and feel free to copy and share this URL, Mike Messier.